Okay, so Receiver on Netflix has been out for weeks at this point, and I already watched it. I wanted to give a review, so sorry I'm late on this. So I'm kind of just going to go episode by episode, giving a little recap, giving my overall thoughts at the end, seeing if I recommend it or don't. So in episode 1, George Kittle, and this is going to be a recurring theme on this video, he want to be the main character so bad. He really does. There's something about him that just annoys me. I don't really care for him. Good football player as a person. He might be a nice guy, but he's over the top. He just irritates me. So that's going to be a recurring theme just off the top. I had to get that out. Debo reflects on fatherhood, how it changed him, and then Amon-Ra, he had, a cool story, and he's also reflecting on his injury and stuff like that, and, this is kind of setting them up for how they got to this point and all that, so they talk about that in this episode, and so, the Lions end up beating the Chiefs, the 49ers, and Cowboys, they had the game, so they're kind of setting up for that, and then George Kittle had his birthday, so they were celebrating that. Episode 2, Justin Jefferson ends up coming on the show this episode, and, he starts showing his chains, and he was talking about how he's really shy in real life, but whenever he gets on the field, he just has a different mentality and all that, and Davante just kind of reflects on fatherhood and all that stuff. Justin Jefferson also talked about how much he loves candy, and how he started doing the gritty in college, and why, because his mom wanted him to have a touchdown celebration, so he just started incorporating that, and that popped off. And then, dropped ball in the Eagles game, ended up losing the game. The Raiders versus the Steelers. Davante ate, they lost to the Steelers. There was 3 interceptions. And he actually matched with Max Crosby in game day. I mean, they were kind of just talking about the bond that they have as well, and that happened more than once. JJ talks about his family history and all that stuff, how he kind of got to the point where he's at today, and I think in this episode he talks about how he was kind of like a late bloomer and everything, but, one of the best receivers in the NFL. We know, I mean, all these guys are basically, and this is a quick side point, but why is this show called Receiver? And yet, we have a tight end on the show. I thought this show was about to be about wide receivers. Yes, I know that tight ends can act as a receiver. We have Travis Kelce, on the Chiefs. I know that. But I just don't get that. And why do we have 2 people on the same team? I'm pretty sure Travis Kelce declined it, and I get that. But, I don't know. I would have liked to see someone on the Chiefs be a representative. And this is beside the point, kind of. But, I just had to say that. So, there's that. There was a Vikings versus Panthers game. The Vikings get the first win, and Justin Jefferson discusses his second contract and everything. Raiders versus Chargers game, and he gets hurt on the play. There was a shoulder injury, took a lidocaine shot. Davante comes back in the game, and there was a game-ending interception. There's a Chiefs versus Vikings game, a hamstring issue. They lost, and then this is whenever he has to go on IR and just recover. Episode 3, he's talking about his injury. He's talking about the recovery and the difficulties with that. There was a win against the Bears. Amon-Ra, he came back from his oblique injury that he had versus Tampa, and he was smart to slide whenever he's coming back into the game, and some people are giving him a hard time about that, but whenever you just suffered an injury and you're coming back here, you're not trying to re-injure yourself, so, I mean, I don't really get that. He was smart for that. And they ended up winning the game. And then we had the 49ers versus the Browns, and then there was some fight that broke out. Debo got injured again. He was out of the game. They lost. And Davante reflects on the shoulder pain that he had suffered in that game and on his time at Green Bay. And he ultimately decided to go to Las Vegas because Derek Carr was there, and he was his college quarterback, and, he just wanted that opportunity and his time there and everything. And speaking on that, I did watch his whole interview with Shannon Sharpe, and he was basically just saying, like, part of the reason why he is going to stay in Vegas is because, it was all that to move his family there, and his wife and his kids are so happy that they can play outside and it's not snowing. So, just trying to be respectful to the family and, the commitment that he honors. That's basically why he's staying in Vegas, and that's basically what he said in regards to that. And then, he talked about the difficulties with Jimmy G, as a starting quarterback, and he got pushed out of bounds, shoulder hurt, and in one of the episodes, he was just mad because he just wasn't really throwing him an accurate ball, and he was like, I've never got injured this many times in my career and stuff like that. So yeah, and he basically said he had to sign off on him not being the starting quarterback in order for him to stay on that team, because he was just mad about that entire thing. And I get it, going from Aaron Rodgers to Jimmy G, yeah, that sucks. And so, yeah, he got pushed out of bounds, as mentioned. His shoulder got hurt. The Raiders won, and then Debo was out the next 2 games due to this hairline fracture that he had in his shoulder. Next up was the 49ers versus Vikings game. So George Kittle, he has this play. He gets hit in the dick, and he says that like 10 times. He's dragging it for a minute. We get it. You got hit. Like, he annoys me so bad. Y'all don't even get it. Like, he was really dragging it. The 49ers lost again, and they lost to the Bengals. Deebo was watching Pat McAfee, and he was talking about davanteadams and stuff, and I think it's kind of just interesting to see that. There was the Raiders versus Patriot games. Davante talked about a big hit, and as for mentioned, he was just mad about how he kept getting injured and all that stuff as well. Jimmy got a back injury. Brian Hoyer overthrew him, and then he talked it out, said, I'm going to try to do better. Davante was kind of chill about it, and they won versus the Patriots, and the Patriots were trash last year, so I mean, doesn't really mean much. And this was the first game where they reached 20 points, and he was just really frustrated at the press conference, which I can understand. Episode 4, Davante, he was talking about the route tree and route running and just how hard he's worked to kind of get to that point and stuff, and that was kind of the intro. Amon-Ra was mad that he didn't get the ball enough during the game. The Raiders lost to the Bears. Amon-Ra got hand, foot, and mouth disease, which I've never heard of that before. And, you know, commendable for him for trying to play through that, but yeah, that's crazy. Raiders versus Lions, and he played the game with blisters popping, so I don't know how he did that. Jimmy was overthrowing again. Davante was mad. The Raiders lost again. Josh McDaniels and the GM for the Raiders got fired midseason. 49ers had their bye week. George went wrestling and took someone else's celebration. The 49ers versus Jaguars. Deebo is finally back. And I don't know how Brock made that one throw in the game with all those defenders in his face to George Kittle. That was a great throw. That's going to be a highlight for sure. And that's definitely something I was thinking whenever I saw that. 49ers won. And then George flew a man and his wife out, so there was that moment. The 49ers won the game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lions and Chargers, LA means a lot to Amon-Ra. He had a great game. Lions win. His brother was on the Bears, so they were kind of having that moment, and they had a game. Lions got the win. They talked about the game. Raiders, Antonio Pierce got hired as interim head coach, and now he's a head coach. And, you know, Davante and the players are just talking about how he really helped the team morale and stuff. And the Raiders were versus the Giants. Jimmy G got benched at this point, so that was that. Episode 5, I kind of messed up my notes at this point, so, you know, forgive me. But, you know, the Kittle family had a prayer for the Eagles game. Deebo got 3 touchdowns. The 49ers won. And I feel like that was really the start of the Eagles collapse. No, I'm an Eagles fan, so, yeah, they started off the season so well, and then that collapse. That was kind of heartbreaking to see. Vikings versus Green Bay. Kirk tore his Achilles. Raiders versus Jets. Raiders win. And so there's that. He visited Taco Bell. Amon-Ra was thankful for his family. He was talking about that. The Packers versus the Lions. They lost to Green Bay. And they talk about watching film and defenses. Raiders versus Vikings. Justin Jefferson had a pulmonary contusion. Vikings won. He had to go to the hospital, had some internal bruising. And Davante just kind of went through his weekly schedule and what he has to do, because he was saying the fans don't really know everything that we have to put together throughout the week and everything. So we had some insight that. Episode 6, 49ers versus the Cardinals. So they won this game. And then there was 49ers versus the Bengals. And the Bengals win. Lions versus the Vikings. Lions win. 49ers versus the Ravens. So this was really whenever the 49ers got exposed. Like, I remember going into this game, I felt like a lot of people really disrespected the Ravens, and at that point when they played the game, they had the exact same record. Like, so I don't understand why so many people were doubting the Ravens and stuff like that. And yeah, the 49ers got exposed so bad. Brock threw multiple interceptions in that game, and yeah, they just got dominated by the Ravens. Like, I remember seeing that game. So yeah, they got ended. And they won against the Commanders. They celebrated the Eagles losing and everything, because that meant that they locked up the number 1 seed. The Raiders versus the Chargers. This was that game where it was a 63-21 win. After this game is whenever Brandon Staley finally got fired. You know, it took 3 years and all those losses for him to get fired, but I digress. The Raiders-Colts game, and then they lost. The Raiders-Broncos game, they won. Amon St. Rod didn't make the Pro Bowl, and he was just mad about that. He was like, I had a really great season and everything, but I think he got first team All-Pro, so I think that, you know, that's a better accomplishment, but you know, shout out to him. The Vikings versus Lions game, and he got 1,500 yards for the season, something like that. Justin Jefferson still got 1,000 yards despite missing some games. Detroit won, and then they had the jersey swap. It's episode 7. So, Davante, you know, he is having some off-season time with the family. There was a Vikings exit meeting that Kevin O'Connell does every year, kind of just touching base with the players and everything, because, you know, their season's both over. Amon-Ra dyed his hair blue and everything for the playoffs. There was the Lions versus the Rams. There was a big storyline because of Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff being traded and all that stuff, you know, and so with them winning, that was something that really meant a lot to them. It was the first time they won a playoff game in, I think, like 30 years. And the 49ers versus the Packers. So there was that. George's dad was writing letters, and they were talking about he does that before every game. Deebo got another bad hit. He was out of the game. And so they ended up winning against the Packers. I remember that game. You know, it looked like they were going to lose. They really had to come out behind and end up winning the game because, yeah. But, you know, maybe one day the Packers will beat them. I don't know. I like Jordan Love a lot, for the record. I will say that. Kittle celebrate. Amon-Ra blue hair went viral. The Lions versus the Bucks. And the Lions won that game, and there was some Bucks player that got hurt. Now we on to the 8th and final episode of the series. So Deebo's still trying to recover from his shoulder injury. Amon-Ra's dad does a toast. And then we had the Lions versus 49ers NFC championship game. So I watched this in real time. The Lions had that lead, and then there was a momentum shift. Still to this day, don't get why Dan Campbell didn't go and get those free field goals. I don't know why. Always going for it on 4th down, I believe. Yeah, that was a mistake, and that costed you multiple times, and that's why you lost the game, because y'all had a huge lead. You blew the lead, and the 49ers ended up winning this game, and then they were just showing some Super Bowl press, and so now we basically get to the part of the Super Bowl, and they left a lot on the table with the Super Bowl. There's stuff that they didn't show that happened in the Super Bowl that I specifically remember. Like, there was this play and everything, and then I think this is whenever McCaffrey fumbled the ball, and so George Kittle was talking to George on the Chiefs and saying, hey, George, they edited that part out. That's why he wasn't paying attention to get the fumble. And I agree with someone's comment. They literally said that I feel like he genuinely wasn't locked in. Exactly. You know, all this stuff about I'm coming back with a vengeance, you know. And apparently he said motherfucking vengeance, so that's even worse. Because you came and you got 2 catches for 4 yards, mind you. 2 catches for 4 yards in the Super Bowl. How is that a vengeance? How is that a vengeance? You weren't locked in. You know, so they didn't have that part in. So there was something there. Deebo pulled his hamstring. George got hurt. He went to the locker room, got help, and then he came back. They didn't show the blocked kick for the extra point, and that was definitely a big moment, you know, for the Chiefs, and also momentum swinging. Didn't show whenever Drake Ringlaw got his Achilles injury that took him out of the game, which was a big point, or them not knowing the overtime rules, which was another big point. These are like 4 momentum shifting things for the Super Bowl that they didn't show. Like, y'all had all that stuff. Y'all had a 10-point lead, I believe, at halftime, something like that. Y'all had the momentum, and y'all make critical mistakes. Kyle Shanahan, why every time you get a big lead in the Super Bowl, you blow the lead? This is like the 3rd or 4th time he cost them the Super Bowl. Like, that's what gets me. That's really what gets me, honestly. And so, yeah, like, I can't believe they didn't have those parts in. Like, we know you lost. We know why you lost. Those who watched the game, I guess they're trying to soften the blow. But at the end of the day, you guys didn't win. And let's show all the reasons why you guys didn't win. Like, it irritated me that they didn't put that in. Chiefs ended up winning the Super Bowl. Amon-Ra re-signs in Detroit, got a good deal. Davante's wife has his son. JJ has this youth football camp. And he ultimately decided to re-sign to the Vikings with the biggest contract for a receiver right now. So, yeah, that was basically the recap of everything that happened on the receiver show on Netflix. Now, what are my overall thoughts on this? I enjoyed it. You know, it was really cool to get to see kind of their day-to-day life and just how much effort that they put into this and their thought processes and stuff like that is really interesting. Davante talking about the route running and just all the preparation that he puts on and him rewatching film and all that stuff. You know, I just really enjoyed that because I think, you know, whenever I used to watch football, I didn't get all the work that was going behind it, but you know, I appreciate them all kind of sharing their process, and it takes a lot to be the best. It takes a lot. Even Amon-Ra's story about how hard his dad pushed him whenever he was young, there's a lot that goes into that. So I really like that. I always love a good behind the scenes moment. I just really appreciated that. The games, the high stakes, like, yeah, the filming and the editing of this, I thought generally was pretty good. Like I said, they left a lot of stuff on the table with the Super Bowl, and that did irritate me, but that's something there. Like I said, why is it called receiver and we don't have all wide receivers? I don't get it. Again, a tight end is a receiver. I get it, but I would have liked to see another wide receiver. Why do you got 2 people from the same team? That don't make sense to me. We're basically getting the same perspective. We really are. So that annoyed me. Like I said, George Kittle, he want to be the main character so bad. He annoyed me so much throughout this entire series. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. I really don't. So he irritated me. He really did. So him, I don't go for him. The rest of them, you know, it was cool getting to learn more about them, more about their life, you know, behind football, more about them on the field, more about them as people. Davanteadams, you know, I feel like I gained the most respect for him and everything. I feel like I didn't really know a whole lot about him, like, going in, you know. So it was cool to kind of hear more about him specifically. But all of them, it was interesting. And so, there's something there. After this, it came out the whole thing with Justin Jefferson and that girl he tried to pressure to have an abortion that had his kid and how he has to pay child support and all those text messages. So, that's a bad look. He got to be held accountable for that. I can only feel so bad for him because you a man, wear protection. So got to be held accountable for that. But, yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts on this. I enjoyed watching it. If football is something that you're interested in, I would definitely recommend watching it. I think that it was worth it. I think it was something that was interesting to see. I don't know. I like the quarterback one because they only follow 3, but you kind of got a little bit more detail into all of them. But I think generally they did a good job, showing everything behind it. And I wonder what they're going to do next. Like, are we going to get some defensive positions and stuff? It would be cool to see it from a coach's perspective, maybe. I don't know. This has kind of also put me on to stuff that I'm finding out about, like Hard Knocks, which is a series I've really been enjoying on HBO. I'm excited for the Chicago Bears one that's about to come out. I watched the Miami Dolphins one, so I thought that one was pretty cool. So, yeah, that's my overall thoughts on Receiver. And let me know what you guys think down below in the comments on this, and let's have the conversation there. But overall, I enjoyed it. I got into football this past year and everything, and whenever I first started watching the game to now, I just understand so much more. It took me a bit. I did a lot of researching. I still got football channels that I watch. I'm still trying to educate myself in the game because there's things that I don't know. And hey, knowledge is power. I like learning about sports. I like learning more. So I'm always down to be educated. I'm new to this football thing, and I'm still really enjoying it. And I do videos about the sport occasionally. I'll link my playlist I have on it somewhere at the end of this video, but thank you so much for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. You can subscribe to see more. If you hit the bell, you get notifications for when I post, so you're not missing brand new videos come out. And I'm also going to have all my football videos linked at the end of the video and down below in the description. Down below in the description, I'm going to have my main YouTube channel. I'll do album reactions, album reviews. I just share my top 10 Justin Timberlake songs of all time. I'm also going to have social media, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, and my earbuds if you'd like to follow me on there. Free Palestine, let's educate ourselves on this. Also, make sure you register to vote. I'll be voting for Kamala in November and everything. And so, yeah, I'm definitely going to do some more videos about this upcoming season. I am super excited about it.